You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, Marci and I are forced to confront a harsh fact. It's possible we are really, truly bad people. Also, Marci remembers what it was like to ride an elevator with Richard Nixon.
You ever feel like time is going backwards, but you're not getting any younger?
Could you elaborate on that, please?
I've been chasing my tail all day. I had a doctor's appointment this morning. I was late because I left my x-rays at home and had to turn around. Then we get down the highway and a semi flipped over.
Who?
Yeah. And it really inconvenienced me.
Shame on them. You know what? Can I just interrupt you just for a second? This is a really mean thing to say, but I don't know what the threshold is for when you're allowed to be upset about being inconvenienced, even though someone else is going through a tragedy. But I would warrant that in our secret hearts of hearts, beginning at the point where we get stuck waiting for a funeral procession to go by, a regular, 95 car, someone very popular has died procession where you go damn it, come on. And
I need my Starbucks.
I was the worst possible human being the other day.
Okay, confess to me, my dear.
There's an article, I think it was in the Washington Post, about this bridge across the Chesapeake Bay that people jump off of.
Uh-huh.
I've driven that bridge a lot because my folks' place was in D.C. and they had a little beach house in Delaware, so we'd get stuck on this bridge regularly. So I know what it feels like. It's a really high bridge. If you're afraid of heights, they actually have a little rescue crew because a lot of people get halfway across the bridge and just freak out and pull over and can't drive anymore.
That's me. It's totally me. It's me on the Chicago Skyway. It's me on the Mackinac Bridge. I'm always a person in the middle crying.
Well, you don't pull over though and quit driving, but people do. And so they send a little crew out to drive you. In fact, I think now they have, I could be misremembering this, but I believe if you're afraid to drive over the bridge, there is someone at each end who does this as a kindness. You can pull over and they'll drive you over the bridge. I guess one too many times they had somebody just give up driving in the middle and they figured this was a better solution. So those people used to annoy me, but this is even worse. I'm so mortified that I have to admit to it. I'm so mortified.
Spit it out.
It's an article about people who jump off bridges.
Right.
And please don't know these people, either of our podcast listeners. So this woman had a son, an adult son, who was wrestling with what sounded like paranoia and other kinds of mental illness. He went to the bridge the first time to jump, and they talked him off. And I forget how many hours it took, but it was pretty bad. It was 6 or 7 hours or something. They talked him down, and he got supposedly some help. And then a few weeks later, he was back. And this time it took something like 17 hours to get him down. And the line, they shut down the bridge, of course. And the line.
I would be so pissed.
Okay. All right. The line is miles and miles. And the mother of this young man is saying, don't they have any compassion? What is wrong with people? And I'm thinking, honestly, I would probably want to be one of those people. It's not that I have no compassion. I have no compassion. I clearly have no compassion. No, I do have compassion, just not that much. Just not enough that if I'm sitting for 17
would you
hours.
Be leading all the other drivers in a jump chant?
Oh, no. I wouldn't do that. But apparently.
See, you're a good person then.
No, yeah, is that the threshold? That's it? That's all?
That's your threshold. If you were out standing on top of your car going jump, 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 and everybody chimed in, that would be bad people.
I mean, here's what I thought. I thought you had 16 hours. You could have gotten 4 boats with a giant net, spread it out underneath, gotten some of those tall sailboats, gotten them under the bridge, tied a big net under there and told him, all right, go ahead. Got a net
Yeah.
here waiting for you. Just the catcher in the rye. We're all here waiting for you. But
17 hours is
well,
a
okay.
little
So
bit.
what's the threshold? How long should our compassion have to hold? How long should your compassion have to last?
2 hours.
That's that took you no time at all. You're
I
like,
could sit and play a game on my phone for 2 hours before I would get bored, or read every news site. But if it's like in a no signal zone, then we're down to 15 minutes. then my ADD kicks in, and I'm like,
I'd be one of those people. I'd be one of those people thinking, make up your mind already. Move it along, buddy.
I was late to my doctor's appointment, and I was white knuckling it the whole way. I actually hit 100 miles an hour on the highway.
Ooh.
Which half of me was really proud of, and the other half of me was like, don't get in a wreck.
Yeah, didn't you just see that show and tell there with the semi? You didn't just see that?
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to the doctor, and I was like 10 minutes late. And you know how you can sit there forever and they can be an hour late and nobody ever says they're sorry?
That is correct. You are correct.
And I was 10 minutes late, and I was all flustered, and I went in and they called my name right away, which was amazing. And then I thought I was going to get yelled at for being late. And instead of getting yelled at, this doctor I've never seen before looked at the x-ray of my wrist, and he said, oh, there's a lot going on here.
That's never good.
No, it's never.
No, that's never. The only thing worse than there's a lot going on here, the only thing worse in medical experiences in the doctor's office is when she says, we've never seen this before.
Yeah.
That's the only. There are levels. Now. There are the levels of bad medical news. One, there's a lot going on here, and worse, we've never seen this before. Yes. Oh. There is one more level of doctor's office conversation that's worse, and that is, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one, too.
That's also very, very bad.
Well, my worst fear was he was going to say, well, there's nothing wrong here. Why are you in pain?
Ooh, yeah, it's so at a certain
that would have
point,
upset me, too.
Yeah, that would have been worse. Sometimes you don't even know what's better, to find out there's something really wrong, or to be told that everything that you thought was a disaster is really no big deal. It's hard to know when you're cheering against yourself. That's bad.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you noticed while you were speaking, there was a lot going on in here. My big chunky St. Bernard / Cocker Spaniel decided that she wanted to listen to the podcast and got stuck in all the wires down here.
Whoops.
And yeah, unplugged everything.
Ooh.
So I texted Eve and I said, I need help quick. I thought he was small when we got him.
Well, he was a puppy, you dope.
He still is a puppy.
You dope.
But now we know
I thought he was small. Parodies. Well, yeah, he was 6 weeks old. Why don't you ever, I've got a heart. Why not adopt one of those nice middle-aged dogs? They got a lot of mileage left on them. Why do you torture yourself like this? Everybody wants puppies. There'll be some other patsy.
Story of my life.
There'll be some other patsy that takes the puppy. It's the middle-aged dog that needs your help.
Oh, I married a puppy.
Right. Isn't that enough?
He's trained. He's
right.
Good.
You trained
He's
him.
Housebroken.
Okay, so that's enough. Well, not always from what you've explained.
Yeah, true. He goes outside. But he's out buying me a microwave as we speak.
Very exciting. This is the other problem. Remember when you used to get excited about like scoring front row tickets to your favorite band, and now you're like, I'm getting a new microwave.
I never knew how important it was till I didn't have one.
So you said.
Like when the coffee pot turns itself off, there's no microwave to heat it in.
Now that's when you make iced coffee.
I don't like iced coffee.
I don't know anybody with a bigger list of things she doesn't like. And I thought I was the champion.
Nope, I am the Richard Nixon of 2023 with my hate list.
Oh, yeah.
Ever growing.
Enemies list.
Yeah, he had his hate list.
Enemies list. It was an enemies list.
Enemies. Well, mine's just a hate list. And did I ever tell you what happened when I met Richard Nixon?
No, but I'd like to hear it.
So it was after he wrote a book, He was out of office.
Okay.
And he was doing his, go around the country and speak to journalists book tour.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at the Ritz-Carlton in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a time set up with him, but I was early. Yeah. And I get in the elevator and there he is in my elevator.
Without
And
a Secret Service detail?
he had someone with him.
Oh, of course.
But they let me get in the elevator. But I looked at him and Turi, I started laughing so hard inside myself. I thought that like fluids were going to fly out of every orifice. That guy had the biggest head I have ever seen on a human. He had this little tiny body and he was a walking caricature. I was like, it hurt me. It hurt every bone, every tendon, every muscle to not laugh out loud.
But you
and
did
I got
it.
out.
And if you want to know what it takes to be a professional journalist, yes.
Exactly. I immediately ran into the bathroom as soon as the elevator opened and just laughed till tears came running down my face. He was a funky looking guy.
That's what it is to be a journalist. You can't cry at the sad stuff and you can't laugh at the happy stuff. Oh, I saw a movie that I wish I had skipped, but it just, it had all these famous people. It was called State of Play, and it was about this grizzled newspaper writer and the young cub reporter who runs the social media site over on the internet. They have a big room with a sign that says internet on it, and that's where she works. And she doesn't know anything about print journalism, and he doesn't know anything about the internet because that's not real reporting. And the script was about the worst script. I mean, you could lip sync to this movie without ever having seen it before. And I did. Just when a movie's really bad and the script is really predictable, try this sometime. You can lip sync to it because you know what they're going to say next.
Yep.
They held their most important story for the print edition because the little internet girl, like the little match girl, she said, people will need to read this with ink on their fingers and paper in their hands. And I just thought, it was 2009. It wasn't like 1779. What?
You know what? When my first newspaper job, I was the only female who did not work for the women's pages. And they were actually called women's pages. And it was like the worst working environment in the world. These guys were all, older, middle-aged white men wearing white shirts and black ties with their sleeves rolled out. They looked like they came out of a, bad movie.
Central Casting, send us some grizzled reporters.
Yep, but the women's pages. I'm so glad that that's gone away.
How on earth did print not see what was coming down the road?
Look at how many newspapers are now internet only.
A lot. Some I subscribe to.
Yeah.
I send them money.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I got to admit, when XM radio, Sirius and XM radio first came out, I felt like I would be a traitor if I listened to them because the satellite was putting over-the-air radio out of business.
Yeah. The 2005 mommy van, the kids said, what do we do with these things, holding up a cassette? And I said, believe it or not, if you press a certain button on the dashboard, there's still a cassette deck that was made for this car, probably so that crazy mommies and daddies could play these children's tapes that had been handed down.
Baby blue got the deep blue sea. Yes, yeah. Children's cassettes.
We've warped and twisted our kids, but in completely different ways.
Yes. My kids were singing Enter Sandman.
Yeah, that explains a thing or two. Yeah. If you've made it this far, chances are you've been enjoying Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast, in which case you might also like my book, She Said What, A Life on the Air. You can find that at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon. Marci and I really appreciate your good reviews wherever you care to leave them. Your kind words help the podcast grow. Thanks.